Welcome to Back Talk Sports on MindsetGo Mondays. My name is TJ Horgan. Mark's smiling because he gave me like a great intro that if I were a DJ TJ, I could chop it up and throw it in right before the bass drum.
Priceless.
I'm joined by Mark Altman and Jason Siegel, and we're going to be talking sports. Guys, it's been a pretty hectic, July is not really hectic for sports, but this week, and especially today, has been pretty big.
Well, I got to tell you, TJ, I'm thrilled because great trivia question. The only 3 days of the year where no sports are going on, the day before the All-Star game and the 2 days after. And so it's such a dull time normally.
Yeah.
So it's awesome that it's heated up, right?
Yeah, it's usually getting into the dog days of summer with the NHL and NBA seasons ending and then going into the MLB All-Star break, but with MLB trade deadline heating up, which we'll get to in a minute, with the Red Sox making a deal, and also, of course, NBA free agency. A lot of people continuing to follow the NBA even after the season.
No sports going on. Are you sure you checked the WNBA schedule?
Actually, TJ, I would like to correct one thing. I would like to give a shout out to our Director of Education, Jimmy Young. The real story was Portugal overcoming France without Ronaldo. Can we talk about that? Losing Ronaldo early? Ronaldo gave apparently this halftime speech that was one for the ages to motivate the team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the most overrated soccer players of all time.
Well, all right. So we've exceeded our soccer talk limit, so we go on to something else now.
That's it. We're going to put a cap on soccer talk for the day. Interesting enough, though, in those 3 days where there's no sports going on, I feel like, I didn't know that, but coincidentally, that is when every year I do my fantasy football rankings. I rank all the players for myself. I did that the day before the All-Star.
Outstanding.
Day before the All-Star
Efficient.
break. So, yeah, efficient. So that's when I fill my head with fantasy football. We can, I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of talking about that later on, but we'll start off with some real football, or not even, because it's not even a real football issue. I can't even believe we're talking about it right now, but Tom Brady's appeal to the Second U.S. Circuit Court just got denied, so they will not hear it, leaving the only option, if he wants to keep this going, the only option would be to appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States. Guys, I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Again, the issue is it's no longer about did Tom Brady know or approve of deflating footballs in the 2015 AFC Championship game. It's about whether Roger Goodell has the right, under the collective bargaining agreement, to suspend a player for 4 games, and a court has already ruled, and the courts have ruled overwhelmingly in favor that Roger Goodell does have that power. So unfortunately, the Patriots and Tom Brady seem to be the victim of sort of an iron fist, but I think under the CBA, which was agreed to by the Players Union after the lockout in, I believe, 2011 or 2012. So I think, unfortunately, Roger Goodell does have that power, and I think it's, unfortunately, a lost cause for Tom Brady and the Patriots.
I think it's about time to crank up that heat and melt that iron fist. Something has to change pretty soon.
Well,
Mark, what are your thoughts?
TJ, I have to tell you, I promised one of the most prominent up-and-coming sports hosts, Alex Barth, that I had an amazing take to deliver here, and I am ready to unleash it.
Let's unleash it.
Are you ready?
Is everybody ready at home?
Is everybody ready?
Is everybody ready?
Okay.
All right.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
Roger Goodell and the NFL legal team, the last time we saw this kind of effort was Johnny Cochran. And I have to tell you, with all the O.J. Simpson documentaries that have been in the news over the last 6 months, I have really figured it out. Think about the O.J. trial. How did O.J. get off? Because the evidence became a moot point. It was about distracting the jury from what happened. When this whole thing started with Deflategate, it was all, remember? It was, the Patriots would have won 48-0 anyway. It didn't matter. It didn't affect the outcome of the game. It was all about the Patriots as cheaters. And no one talks about that anymore. It doesn't matter. This is what Johnny Cochran did in the O.J. trial. He got everybody to talk about something different. And like this young man just said, it's all about what it never should have been about. It's about whether the cell phone, did he have a right to destroy his cell phone? Does Roger Goodell's rights under the collective bargaining agreement? And that's not whatever this was about. It was about, did the Patriots cheat? Did Tom Brady knowingly do something? And clearly, that is not the case. That was disproven. And once the NFL lost traction in that area, they went in for the kill in another area, and it's the O.J. Simpson trial all over again.
Yeah, there it is.
And it feels almost like a states' rights versus federal rights argument. I feel like sometimes states' rights advocates, they always just turn it into a states' rights versus federal rights issue, even if they're going to lose what they were originally fighting for. It almost feels like that. As Mark had talked about there, the NFL, they sort of lost with the Wells report, didn't really work out, so now they turned it into whether Goodell has that power, and of course they do have that power pretty clearly under the CBA.
And they kept the results of the PSI testing private because they knew it would have supported the Patriots. Yeah. And lastly, I will say this, despite everything going on, it is time for Tom Brady to let this go. The Supreme Court should not be wasting their time on Deflategate. We have enough things going on in the country.
Yeah.
It will very much tarnish Tom Brady's legacy if he takes this to the Supreme Court. People want to see this go away. No one will believe he has a chance to win in the Supreme Court.
I disagree with the fact that he should let it go. Why not say to the Supreme Court, yeah, I'd like you to hear my case. They would not hear his case. I think it would be a miscarriage of justice if Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, yeah, we're going to hear your case about footballs. But Tom Brady is totally exercising his rights as someone who's being subjected to punishment to appeal.
Yeah, except for the fact that I think in sports we don't see it very often, but there's something to be said for accountability. And look, even the most staunch Patriot fan can't deny. Do you as a Patriot fan really believe...
Not a Patriot fan.
Okay, fair enough. But do you think most Patriots fans...
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest.
He didn't do anything different than he did every other game.
But he got caught. And that's the difference.
Right.
And in college sports, when stupid schools like University of Miami or Oklahoma or Alabama and these schools get caught doing things they're not supposed to, their argument is the same thing. Well, everybody else does it, but you got caught.
Right.
And that's the problem.
See, I agree, but did you not just say that the overwhelming evidence supports that the Patriots didn't cheat?
I did say that, but I think there was something Tom Brady knew. It didn't affect the outcome of the game. Everybody else does it, but it was still technically breaking the rule.
Right.
And the punishment was not commensurate to the crime at all.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
But the fact is the commissioner had the right because the players mistakenly gave him that power in the collective bargaining agreement. And I will say one thing. If I'm the NFL, when this collective bargaining agreement expires, the owners better run and run far because the players are going to come at them hard this time around.
You're right. Do we know, I'll look it up now, but do we know when that CBA expires?
2020.
Yeah.
2020?
2020 season.
2020, so I better win the fantasy football season in 2019 because we won't be having professional football for a very long time.
I think there's some problems.
Oh, man. And I mean, just this, I think the most egregious part about this is, and let me know if you agree with me, Mark and Jason, is the disparity in suspensions. I mean, Muhammad Wilkerson just got a 1-game suspension for being arrested drag racing 150 miles per hour with a 12-year-old in the car, a loaded handgun laying in the car, and the car reeking of marijuana. 1 game, and Tom Brady may have known about underinflated footballs.
Well,
can Roger Goodell look us in the eyes and tell us that's okay?
Well, Goodell has been doing that because he's been using the integrity of the game because doing all those awful things that you said don't hamper on the integrity of the game, and that's not really Goodell's job. But still, with an institution as influential as the NFL, I still think there has to be some accountability, and they have to show some morality. So I think there's definitely a disparity in the suspensions, but Goodell's just going to say integrity to the game. It's not my responsibility, but I think it's something the NFL should, especially given the state of the country right now, should start taking more responsibility for.
But I will say this, TJ, one last thought on this. We all know that this was an effort by the owners to punish the Patriots because of the resentment of the Patriots' success and the things of the past. I will say this much. Whatever pleasure the owners and Roger Goodell are feeling in this moment, this Tom Brady thing unified the Players Association. They were not unified. Even when the Bounty Gate came out with the Saints and all the other individual incidents that come up, the Players Union wasn't unified. They are now. And the entire country will side with the players next time around because they've been exposed. The owners and the commissioner have been exposed, and that was the real victory in this, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers came out earlier in support of Tom Brady, and a lot of other players have as well. So it definitely has that sort of us versus them. So, and I think you're right, a lot of people will support the Players Union moving forward.
And ironically, and a good analogy, guys, ironically, in the beginning of this, people around the league, a lot of them hate Brady. They resent him just like they hate the Patriots.
Right.
Whereas it's gone on, the tide has turned and shifted to, like you just said, and on the other side, it's like the reverse with Kevin Durant. You know, everybody used to like him, and now with his decision, now the tide's totally he even acknowledged it today.
Yeah.
He came out and acknowledged it today. So anyway.
And I'm rolling with the tide on that one, Kevin.
We'll
talk to
totally
Kevin Durant at another date. But Jason, you're a big baseball fan. I want to talk some baseball. I always look forward to. Jason and I used to do shows with MindsetGo back years ago, and there was no one I loved talking baseball with more than Jason Siegel. So the Red Sox, and what better time to talk about baseball than right now? The breaking news: the Red Sox just made a deal. They got Drew Pomeranz from the San Diego Padres in a trade to bolster
look
their
at that
pitching
wind-up.
staff.
I mean, can you beat that wind-up? I mean, honestly.
And they reportedly, there's been a lot of confusion over this, but it's pretty much sure that they've traded 18-year-old Anderson Espinoza, the pitcher who right now is ranked number 1 in the Padres minor league system already. So he's a very good prospect there. Jason, what do you think of this?
Well, I think the Red Sox have a win-now mentality. Part of it is definitely it's David Ortiz's last year, especially for the season he's having, putting up some of the best numbers in his career despite being 40 years old, and especially breakout seasons for Xander Bogaerts, Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley Jr., all well-deserving all-stars. So I think they have sort of a win-now mentality.
And for Red Sox fans, I think that is good that they know they have that mentality now.
Yeah, definitely. And just some numbers for Espinosa. He's 5-8 with a 4.38 ERA. So I know there have been some comparisons to Pedro Martinez, but he has a long way to go just even to get out of Class A. And Pomeranz, he is 8-7 with a 2.47 ERA. He is averages more than 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, or more than a strikeout per inning.
More than 10 now, actually.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So he's high
up there.
strikeout rate.
He's throwing them.
He can start, and he can also relieve of course, with the injury to Craig Kimbrell, the Red Sox could perhaps need some bullpen help.
They didn't give away Anderson Espinoza for the bullpen.
Right.
If they gave away Anderson Espinoza for the bullpen.
But I'm just saying Pomeranz is a guy that gives you flexibility.
Versatility.
If there's a guy like Sean O'Sullivan who can come up and start and do all, you can move Pomeranz to long reliever role. So I think he's a guy who has major league experience and can give you flexibility on your roster.
So if you're a Red Sox fan, do you like this?
I think so, because I think they have a win now mentality, and based on the stats for Espinosa, it doesn't look like he's going to come up anytime soon. So I don't think they should waste this, especially with it being Ortiz's last ride.
So hearing about this deal, I at face value, I thought Red Sox fans would be really peeved about this, but I just talked to Matt McCarthy on 98.5 The Sports Hub, and the general attitude was not one of infuriation or even like uncomfortable. Like they were mostly okay with that. But Mark, I know you feel differently.
Well, I think it's important when trades take place, especially in baseball. There's a lot of gray area, and I think that.
Especially when you're dealing with an 18-year-old.
Well, especially there, but especially it's about supply and demand, and you have to make decisions. Dombrowski, I will say this much. I'm not a Pomeranz guy, but I will say there's not going to be a lot of great pitchers out there. He struck early, and the fact that he struck early, the price is only going to get higher as we get closer to the trade deadline.
Very good point.
So I think there's something to say. I would also say that I feel like it's one of those deals where Dombrowski's either going to look like a genius or a moron, because either Drew Pomeranz, by adding his third pitch, has finally figured it out.
Which I subscribe to wholeheartedly.
And one thing, TJ, I will say about Pomeranz, researching him, he was the 5th overall pick in the draft. So it wasn't as if the guy came out of nowhere. Right. I mean, he did have the pedigree earlier. So, I mean, we'll see. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm not impressed with the pitcher who does well in Petco Park.
Yeah, so right. I'll concede that. And you know what? Now that you are right. I don't think anyone can grade this trade now. I don't think you can grade this trade a year from now. I think the time you can grade this trade is when his contract is up in 3 years from now, because then we'll have a better gauge on Anderson Espinoza, and we'll see what Pomeranz gave to the Red Sox.
Well, you hope you can't grade it a year from now, because if you can, it's going to be a failure, not a win.
Yeah, you're
By
right.
the way, can I just throw out, as baseball fans, guys, was it just me? I watched the All-Star game, and I see the starting lineups being announced, and is it the National League pitching is so superior to American League pitching. I'm looking at Kershaw and Bumgarner and Arrieta
Is it all
and
the
Jose
DH?
Fernandez, and they've got 6 or 7 pitchers in the National League that are probably better than any pitcher in the American League.
I agree,
Maybe Chris Sale is an exception, but it's way better in the National League.
It is, but at the same time, aside from Kershaw, you could have made the argument when Scherzer was with the Tigers that
Scherzer's another one.
He's in the NL now, but like when he was in the AL, you could have argued that he was just as good, even better than he is in the NL.
But he isn't.
But I would say
Not anymore.
Right, but I would say when he was, was not in the AL anymore.
Yeah,
sure, but.
yeah.
I don't know, what do you have any thoughts as to what that might be?
Syndergaard.
Jason? Why?
Yeah.
I'm
Seriously,
talking about your
Syndergaard.
Mets. Your Mets are a prime example.
Right.
Why do you
Right?
think the pitching's so much better in the NL? R.A. Dickey from the Mets to the Blue Jays. Come on, Jason.
Yeah, well, that was. I mean, R.A. Dickey was 38 years old when he won the Cy Young. I think
I love
it was.
I love
It was
R.A.
pretty
Dickey.
clear that was really a one-time thing. I'm definitely even before Syndergaard or d'Arnaud came up. And an interesting fact about Syndergaard, he was a throw-in. The main part of that deal for the Mets was Travis d'Arnaud, who's their main catcher right now. Syndergaard was a throw-in for the Mets, accepting John Buck as a catcher who's no longer in the league. But you could definitely argue with d'Arnaud's injuries that he's had. He's had a broken finger, injured shoulder, a broken foot, a sprained elbow, all in the last 3 years. You could argue that Syndergaard was probably ended up being the prize of that deal.
Jason, I have an important question for you. As a loyal Mets fan, don't you think the least you could do is wear your hair like Noah Syndergaard?
No, I couldn't pull that off.
I mean, that would be loyalty.
Not many people can pull that off.
Okay, I'm just
All right, and as the discussion devolves into hairstyles, we will head off the air. For Jason Siegel, Mark Altman, I'm TJ Horgan. This has been another episode of Back Talk Sports on the MindsetGo Monday Network. Thank you for watching.